In January, we did my annual 31 Days to a More Effective Compliance program where we looked at one thing you could do each day. Well, we're back with the Compliance Tip of the Day. This is the podcast where we bring you daily insights and practical advice on navigating the ever-evolving landscape of compliance requirements. Whether you're a seasoned compliance professional or just starting your journey, my aim in this podcast is to provide you with a bite-sized, actionable tip to help you stay on top of your compliance game. In the chaotic world of 2025 and beyond, compliance will become even more important, and you staying on top of your game will help your company move forward. After a short break for the week of July 4th, we are back, and today we're going to begin exploring assessing internal controls under COSO. Today we consider what COSO says about assessing compliance internal controls. In its illustrative guide, COSO lays out its views on how to assess the effectiveness of internal controls. They went on to note an effective system of internal controls provides reasonable assurance of achievement of an entity's objectives relating to operations, reporting, and compliance. There are two overarching requirements that can be met only through such a structured post. First, each of the five components are present and functioning. Second, are the five components operating together in an integrated approach. One of the most critical components of the 2013 Internal Controls Framework is that it sets an internal control standard against those which you can audit to assess the strength of your compliance internal controls. The framework is designed to apply to a wider variety of corporate entities. Your audit should be designed to test those controls. This means if you have a multi-country or business unit organization, you need to determine how the compliance internal controls are interrelated both up and down the organization. The illustrative guide also realizes that smaller companies should have fewer formal structures in place throughout the organization. Your auditing can and should reflect this business reality. Finally, if your company relies heavily on technology for your compliance function, you can leverage that technology to support the ongoing assessment and evaluation going forward. The illustrative guide suggests a four-pronged approach in your assessment. Number one, make an overall assessment of your company's systems of internal controls. This should include an analysis of whether each of the components and relevant principles is present and functioning and the components are operating together in an integrated manner. Two, there should be a component evaluation. Here you need to more deeply evaluate any deficiencies that you may turn up and whether there are any compensating controls. Three, assess whether each principle is functioning and present. As the framework does not prescribe specific controls that must be selected, developed, and deployed, your task here is to look at the main characteristics of each principle as further defined by the points of focus, and then determine if a deficiency exists, and if so, what is the severity of that deficiency. Finally, you should summarize all your internal control deficiencies in a log so that they are addressed on a structured basis. Another way to think of the approach would be to consider the effect of the principle and would allow the internal control deficiency to be identified along with the initial severity determination. A component evaluation would roll up the results and would allow a reevaluation of the severity of any deficiency in the context of compensating controls. Lastly, an overall effectiveness assessment would look at whether the controls were operating together in an integrated manner by evaluating the internal control deficiencies aggregate to a major deficiency. This type of process would then lend itself to an ongoing evaluation. So if your business model's laws and regulations or other situations change, you could assess. So what are today's three key takeaways? Number one, your controls must be present and functioning. Number two, your controls need to be operating together in an integrated approach. And number three, they must be interrelated so that if you have a multi-country or multi-business unit approach, all of the controls are interrelated. Thank you, and I hope you'll join us again tomorrow. One of the things that I'm happy to do for you, the compliance profession, is if you have a question or a series of questions you would like some compliance tips on, I'm happy to take any requests that you might want, certainly anonymize them, and give you a quick tip. Either one quick tip or maybe a week's worth of quick tips. So if you have any tips you want about your compliance program, you can shoot me an email at tfox@tfoxlaw.com. This podcast was created and produced with the assistance of AI.